Welcome to Between Love and Hate, Episode 3, The Prodigal Son. Tempest was sitting in her office, deeply staring at scribbles she was doodling from her black fountain pen. Grandma, Mama, Mimo. Why am I even saying this? I'm only 38 years old. I am way too young to be a grandmother, for Christ's sake. He's making a big mistake. He really should not be doing. He can't be doing this, she murmured to herself. Chance then knocks on the door and eager and ready to get things going with her speech. Then he notices Tempest's mind is in another world. He continues to try to get information from Tempest to work on her speech for the Caddo Parish's Ladies Auxiliary Luncheon. Girl, you gotta snap out of it. Whatever you're in, snap out of it. You have a luncheon this afternoon, and I've got to flesh out the speech. Huh? Huh? She murmured as she stared at Chance blankly. I'm sorry. Let's get to work. Chance, in his intuition, would not let Tempest just get away with that. He was going to drag it out of her. At first, she was resisting on telling Chance anything, but Chance always knew how to get the information from someone. She finally blurted out, "He got the girl pregnant." At first, Chance thought Paul was having an affair and got someone pregnant. Then Tempest revealed that her son got his girlfriend pregnant. "Grandmother!" Chance yelled. "Shh!" Tempest demanded, "I'm not happy with this. He is way too young to be doing this, and that girl. She's got a nose ring, for Christ's sake. A nose ring. Can you believe it? She wears all black and has a nose ring." I can remember a young girl who wore all black. Sons usually date women like their mother. And besides, you dated guys with nose rings and tattoos in college yourself. But that was me. This is my child we're talking about here, Tempest explained. Chance gave her a grin and yelled, "You are feeling old and you're gonna be a grandma. I know you, Tempest. You have been way too wild and for a way long time, even when we were younger. Your son took after you and now he's making you a grandmother. The symbol of being old." Tempest stated that she doesn't know what to do. She is against abortion, but after finding out all this, the idea was looking really good. She is not happy with Cody being with Madison. Deep down, she knows something is not right about this. She feels it in her bones. She can't point it out, but she knows that something is terribly wrong. Chance tells her that she and Paul just need to lay down the law and just set some boundaries if this is going to take place. After calming down, Tempest suggests that they get back to work. She gives Chance the information needed for her speech, and the two went to work quietly in her small, cozy office. "How about some music?" Tempest asked. "Sure, as long as it's not Marilyn Manson or that scary stuff that you were into years ago," Chance exclaimed. Tempest then turns on her old vintage radio and turns it on to a light pop music station. Suddenly, the noon hour hit with the news beginning to broadcast. Suddenly, a news piece came through that brought both Chance and Tempest to full attention. Oil and real estate tycoon Carter Archer, who owned the Archer Group, unexpectedly was killed in a plane crash. Archer was riding in his private jet and crashed in the Gulf of Mexico just south of New Orleans. Both pilots, Archer and Archer's fiancée, Bambi St. Charles, were all killed. Funeral service will be announced later as soon as details are given. Tempest looks at Chance in disbelief. "Oh my God, that's Jordan's father. Wow." "So let me know what you think about this introduction," Chance nonchalantly said to Tempest as he handed her the paper. Tempest was confused. She noticed that the news did not faze Chance. She knows that he could not stand Jordan, but she never imagined that he would ever wish anything terrible like this to happen. She had to ask him even if he feels anything for the death of Carter. "Look, Tempest, Of course, I'm sorry that Carter died, but I have no feelings whatsoever for Jordan. Besides, he hated his father anyway. I'm not going to feel sorry for him because he had everything handed to him: money, privilege, men, looks, everything. Now that Carter's gone, I'm sure he'll get a nice inheritance left to him. Now, can we get back to work? Tempest stood up from her desk and shook her head. You are just so hateful sometimes, Chance. What happened between you and Jordan almost 20 years ago? It was almost 20 years ago. You really need to let this grudge go. Chance refuses to let the grudge go. It's not in his nature. He has a big heart and even bigger ego. That is always Chance's downfall. He expects so much from people who are close to him, and when the first time that he gets hurt by any of them, the person that did him wrong becomes non-existent. That was Chance's defense mechanism. Suddenly, the intercom started to chime in. Tempest sits back down and answers the intercom. Yes, Cassie, she stated. I know you don't want to be disturbed, Dr. Masters, but Ariel Prentice is on the line for you. She stated it's an emergency. Tempest rolls her eyes. She knows that Ariel is insufferable to deal with under normal circumstance, but when there is crisis or death, she becomes nearly impossible. Also, Ariel was so far up Jordan's ass that when Jordan belched, you could hear Ariel. Reluctantly, Tempest said, Fine, put her through. A very brief silence, and then suddenly Ariel's wailing voice filled the room. She acted like one of her parents. Tempest tried to console her. The two talked for a while. Chance could not handle Ariel so much. He didn't hate her, but she got on his last gay nerve. He cannot stand people who are so stuck up other people's ass that they don't have their own ambitions or personality. Chance motioned that he was going to grab lunch so that Tempest and Ariel could have a private conversation. Chance left Tempest's office and stated, Oh Lord, please let me not have to deal with them too. In the spirit of politeness and getting to know her future daughter-in-law, Tempest and Paul made a special dinner for Madison and Cody. As much as she was against her baby getting married and having a child, she and Paul decided that since their son was grown up, he was going to learn from his own mistakes. Both decided that once the shit hits the fan and their son realized that all of this is a mistake, out of tough love, they would let him deal with the consequences. Tempest and Paul decided if Cody was man enough to make a baby, he is man enough to clean his mess, and they will completely stay out of the situation. The four sat in the dining room, and the tension could be cut with an electric knife. The four would just sit there, eating. Finally, Madison broke the ice. Mrs. Masters, this meal is delicious. Oh, thank you, Madison, and please call me Tempest, she said with a stoic smile. Both Cody and Madison looked at each other with a slight ease. You know, Madison, this must be a special occasion because growing up, a fancy meal was fish sticks and macaroni and cheese. Everyone started to giggle. Oh, son, what about Thanksgiving and Christmas? Oh, that's when we broke out the good china and ate fish sticks and macaroni and cheese. Any other evening would be paper plates. Tempest explained to Madison that while Cody was a child, she worked her way through the rest of college, graduate school, and then worked. So cooking full 7-course meals was almost impossible. Speaking of which, Paul interrupted. Son, if you're going to have a family now, you need to work. I have a position at the firm for you. Tempest also said that school is important as well. If she worked her way through school as a mother, he could definitely do it as a soon-to-be father. Cody unexpectedly agreed. He told his father that he would take the job at the law firm and that he is planning to enroll at the local university. Both Tempest and Paul were stunned at Cody's compliance. You two are right. I want to be able to provide for both my future wife and my child just like you provided for me. I want to be able to give them the advantages and a good life that I had. Both Tempest and Paul were at ease and both impressed on how mature Cody's thought processes are. thought processes are. Maybe this situation might be rough, but would not be so bad. Madison stood up and clutched her small waist with the tiniest notice of a baby bump. What makes you think that he is not going to be a she? Everyone started to laugh. Then Paul decided to tell Cody and Madison what Tempest and he were discussing before dinner. We had this spare guest loft with a kitchen and a bathroom over the garage that we used to rent out. Until you two can get on your own feet, it's yours. Everyone began to smile and continue dinner. Tempest then changed the subject and stated, "Hun, did you hear about Carter Archer today?" "Unfortunately so," Paul stated somberly. "Our office handled his estate, and I'm not looking forward to dealing with this mess. You know that entire family is cutthroat, especially that Cassandra Archer." "Well, are we going to the memorial service, right?" Tempest asked. Paul stated that because his firm handled Carter's affair, that he would have to go and represent the firm and give his condolences to the surviving family, and set a time for the reading of the will. The four finished dinner, and Madison offered to help Tempest with the dishes, and she agreed to let her. The two were in the kitchen, and Madison and Tempest were getting to know each other. "I know you feel that I'm taking your son away from you, but I'm not. I truly love him. I know you think we are young, and you're right, but I think we're making the right decision to marry so we can have this this child." Tempest realized that she was looking at herself at her age. She looked into Madison's eyes and sees herself. "You know, I was around your age when I met Paul's dad right after Cody came along. So I completely understand. I won't lie, I was a little shocked, and yes, my vanity is having problems acclimating with this idea of me becoming a grandmother, but I'll be okay with it in time. And I'll grow to love you as a daughter, and I already love the small miracle you're carrying." The two smiled big and continued cleaning the kitchen. "But one thing, that child is never to call me Granny. Capiche?" After the long flight from Los Angeles, Jordan returns home for the memorial of his estranged father. He did not know why he was even there. His whole family was dysfunctional. His mother, Cassandra, has her own wing at the Betty Ford Clinic. After the death of Jordan's older brother Jack in an oil rig explosion, Cassandra took to the bottle. Jack's body was never found, and she went insane to the point that Carter had Cassandra put away in a sanitarium for a period of time. Jordan was never close to either of his parents. He had to deal with infidelity on both ends, alcoholism, fights, divorce, and living in Jack's shadow. Jordan was never good enough for Carter, so he lashed out at being conceited and taking anything he wanted and making himself grander than what he really was. Jordan enters the palatial mansion and sets his bag down in the corridor. He looks around and sees the immaculate hard marble floors, the deep cherry winding staircase, and the memories of his youth flooding back. He then enters the great room, decked in rich brown leather furnishings, pictures of his families and ancestors, and his mother staring out the window holding a scotch on the rocks. "Drinking lunch again, huh, Mother dear?" Jordan says as he startled Cassandra. "I think I'll join you." Cassandra did not expect to see her son there. She held her drink close to her and she walked closer to him. "So the old bastard finally kicked the bucket, and I thought that son of a bitch was going to live forever," Jordan said as he drank his vodka martini. That is not something to say about your father," Cassandra said. "Oh, please, Mother. He was a hateful and spiteful asshole." Jordan then laughed. "And what's ironic about the whole thing is he was off with his bimbo, Bambi, when he kicked the bucket. How apropos." Cassandra then sets her drink down and walks over to Jordan. "You know your daddy loved you." Jordan rolled his eyes. Oh, don't give me that daddy love me speech. That is bullshit and you know it. He only loved 3 people in his life. Himself, Jack, and himself. He never loved me. He never loved me the way he loved Jack. And he hated the fact I was not Jack. He detested the fact that I was gay and he disowned me. That's okay, Mother. I've lived through that. I survived him. I'm my own man, and I never needed the prestige of an archer to get it. Cassandra begins to discuss what possibilities could be now that Carter's passed. You know we're the only 2 survivors. More likely, Carter left the majority of his shares of the company to you. I know you don't want anything to do with the Archer group, and I know that you have your practice out in California. I honestly suggested to sign them holdings over to me and I could run the company. Jordan began to scoff his mother. It has been well known for generations that the Archer family was a constant study in a power struggle. It was always who was in control of the corporation, and it didn't matter how they got power. They took any means necessary, even illegal, to gain power. Jordan then tells his mother that there was no way that his father left in the company, and if he did, there was no way he would sign the company over to a drunk. Cassandra then yelled, "Well, if your brother Jack was here, he's dead, Mother. Besides, I'm not him. And even if, by some slim chance, that I would get the majority of the shares handed to me, there is no way that I would sign them over to you. You know, I was planning to stay here, but I think I'll check into a hotel. I am just not in the mood to deal with your schemes." Jordan then bolted out of the mansion, and then Cassandra took a large swig of her bourbon, and she stated, "We'll see about that."